Walter's Sports Bar has been recognized by many local publications as one of the best sports bars in Washington, D.C., located across the street from Nationals Park and open year-round.
Walker to the belt, the 2-1. Wood chops one past the mound and through the drawn-in infield. It's a base hit out into center field. Nuñez scores. Wood has 2 RBIs tonight. He's driven in Nuñez twice. Nationals get the run back. It's 3-1.
Here's the set. There goes Chaparro, swing and a long drive. Deep left center field. Way back. Going. Gone. Goodbye. Unbelievable. Bang. Zoom goes Curtis Mead with his 11th home run of the year. A 3-run blast. RBIs 32, 33, and 34. And the Nationals are back in front here in the bottom of the 7th inning. It's Washington 6, Kansas City 3.
It'll be a 2-2 pitch to Collins. Varland trying to finish it. Here he comes. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. And the Nationals win it 6-4. The Nationals match their season's best winning streak at 4 games. They've won 4 series in a row, and they're 4 games over 500 at 39 and 35.
And welcome to Nats Chat. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. I'm joined by Washington Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman of NatsJournal.com. He's at Nationals Park. We have yet another series win for the Nats, who now are 9-1-1 over their last 11 series. A 6-4 win over the Kansas City Royals at Nationals Park on Tuesday evening in Game 2 of a 3-game series. This off the 7-3 win over the Royals at Nationals Park on Monday evening. Now, the Nats on Tuesday evening won despite blowing a 3-1 7th inning lead, but the Nats did win. They, in MLB's 2026 regular season, get to 39 and 35 with a run differential of plus 19. The Nats now are at least 4 games above 500 in a regular season for the first time since finishing that 2019 regular season 93 and 69. The Nats now are 16 and 21 at home versus 23 and 14 on the road. And the Nats now have a 4-game winning streak in which they have outscored opponents 31-11. You could always email us at natschatpodcast@gmail.com. From Jay Gillespie, writes Jay, to echo Al's comments, this team is so much fun. These players don't seem to think they should lose or be rebuilding. They are playing like a competitive, relevant team now. Thank you for that, Jay. So true. I mean, consider this as we are recording this. The Nats have the best run differential among all non-division leaders in MLB. You take out each of the 6 division leaders, and the Nats have the best run differential in the majors at plus 19. Mark, the Nats are rolling right now. This is so much fun to watch.
And I think, Al, they are starting to establish an identity. I think we're starting to get a sense, I think they're starting to get a sense of who they really are. We know what they're not. They're not a team that's going to win a lot of low-scoring games behind dominant pitching. But what they are is a team that is going to find a way to score runs with this lineup more often than not. And even when the bullpen gives up a lead, like they did in this game in the top of the 7th, there is a confidence that they're going to come back and retake that lead. And they did it immediately in this game in the bottom of the 7th. And they did it both with power, something we've seen from them a lot this year, but they also did it with good old-fashioned hustle, running the bases well, beating out ground balls. And as Blake Butera said afterwards in his press conference, that's who we are. That's what we want our identity to be.
I mean, we talk about that. That's what we want our identity to be. There were some games earlier this year. We had guys, CJ beat a ball to second base earlier near Cruzy. Same thing.
They're kind of growing into that right now. And I got to tell you, just being in the ballpark for this game, they've had much larger crowds. This was only 25,000. But those 25,000 were fully engaged in this game and reacting in a way that felt like it had entirely to do with the baseball on the field. And as frustrated as everyone was when the bullpen gave up the lead at the top of the 7th, they were equally thrilled when the lineup came right back and took the lead in the bottom of the 7th on Curtis Mead's homer and stayed with it the rest of the way to where 2 outs in the 9th, they're on their feet applauding as Gus Varland gets the final out. That's not the kind of scene that we've had here in quite a while. They are starting to make believers out of everybody. And I think we're all kind of starting to embrace this team understand what they are, how they're built, and how they're going to go about winning games.
So 4-game winning streak, that matches the Nats' longest winning streak in this regular season. And I had this thought. So for all of the anticipation and conversation of, well, at some point the regression will come, at some point the bottom will fall out, at some point this team will sort of sink back to what it was supposed to be. What if the opposite is true? Like, what if this team has just been kind of hovering and now is about to burst, now is about to bust out? Like, what if the thing that is coming isn't some losing streak or stretch of losing, but is a surge, a winning streak? You know, what if we are in the midst of the Nats winning 8 or 9 consecutive games, or winning, 13 out of 15 games or something like that? What if we are in the midst of seeing the Nats put some distance between themselves and 500, as opposed to the team getting above 500 by a few games and then sinking back down? I think we have to be open to all kinds of possibilities with this team, with how well it's playing right now, because make no mistake, this team is getting better. This team is not getting worse. This team is getting better as this season goes on.
Yeah, and as you've pointed out, things like Dylan Cruz starting to get productive, all the other guys in the lineup, Keibert Ruiz, Nasim Nuñez in this game, you add that to what they've already had here. And yeah, there's a scenario out there where you could say that we're just now starting to really get a sense of how good they could be. I also start thinking about this. I know we have mentioned in the past comparing this team to prior teams in Nationals history. And I think the two that we've thought about the most are the inaugural team from 2005 and then the 2011 team that was a year away from actually contending and making the playoffs. And it strikes me that those two teams had something in common. They both got red hot in June.
3-2 pitch to Vinny, drilled to left field. Way back, Berkman looking up. It is gone. Goodbye.
2005, that was the 10-game winning streak that propelled them into first place in the NL East. It made RFK Stadium bounce and shake every night, and it suddenly became the place to be for the team. Now, we know what happened. The second half, completely, the bottom fell out from underneath them, and it wasn't the start of anything, unfortunately. In 2011, they were on a really nice run, and then remember, it all got brought to a halt when Jim Riggleman resigned, and that was in late June. We're coming up on the anniversary of that. And then Davey Johnson took over, and they were competitive the rest of the way for sure. And they finished just a game under 500, but they never did fully take off. But both those teams, their best months was June. And we're kind of starting to see that with this team. It's a great position to be in. And then the question just becomes, can they continue that and sustain that? We don't know the answer to that yet, but the fact that we can even ponder that possibility, I think, is really exciting.
We're 74 games into the 162. I mean, we are approaching the numerical midpoint of the regular season here. It's not early anymore. You know, it's not late. That's true, but it's not early anymore. The season is happening. The season is developing, and the Nats are 39-35. More good offense on Tuesday evening. 6 runs, 10 hits, which were a home run, 2 triples, a double, and 6 singles, 4 walks, 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position, 3 for 3 on stolen bases. The homer was by Curtis Mead. He is the Nats starting third baseman and number 3 batter. Went 1 for 3 with a 3-run homer and a walk. Mead in the Nats 3-run 7th had a 1-out 3-run homer to left center field on a 1-2 pitch to put the Nats up 6-3. The 3-run homer broke a 3-all tie. The homer went a projected 424 feet per StatCast. And consider the circumstance. So the Nats blew a 3-1 7th inning lead by allowing 2 runs in the top of the 7th, but then struck right back with the Mead 3-run homer in the bottom of the 7th. And this is something that we've talked about previously, but man, was this on display in this game. The Nats have been so good at answering at being scored upon. And I don't know if that's a skill, okay? Honestly, I'm not sure if that's a thing or if it's not a thing. But if it is a thing, the Nats have that thing. This skill, this thing of being good at answering at being scored upon. I mean, heck, the Nats earlier in the game allowed a run in the top of the 5th, but then scored a run in the bottom of the 5th. From an emotional standpoint, as you watch these games, even if the Nats get scored upon / give up a lead, you're like, okay, the offense is coming up soon, and the offense is about to do some damage. And sure enough, the offense did some damage. Mead hitting a home run, another homer for Mead. His OPS now at 821. What a season he's having, and just the resilience of this offense and of this team overall really is impressive.
And as you said, like, we can all feel it. I can tell you they feel that in the dugout, the same thing. Yeah, they're disappointed that the bullpen gave up those 2 runs, but there's a confidence now. They know how good this lineup is, and they know it's just a matter of time until they put it together. You know, the awful loss in San Francisco last week, which almost feels like ancient history at this point, given everything that's happened since then. There's kind of no doubt in my mind that if that had been a home game and the Nats got to come up to bat again after all that drama, all the heartache of blowing that huge lead, that they would have at least made it interesting and had a chance of coming back themselves. I think they feel like just give us one more at bat and we're going to find a way to do that. And so, yeah, I don't think they worry when they find themselves trailing like that, because there is a confidence that this lineup is too good to just be shut down after that. And especially against, let's be honest, not a great Royals pitching staff. That's not an elite bullpen they're going up against. I think there was even more sense of confidence in that regard. They're facing a left-hander in the 7th inning in Lynch, and Blake Butera, he's got exactly what he wants. He's got Nasim Nuñez leading off. We're going to get to his night. He had an incredible night all around, but he gets on base and then starts creating havoc on the bases. James Wood grounds out, but then he's able to pinch hit Andres Chaparro for Luis Garcia to get the righty-lefty matchup. Chaparro draws a walk himself, and now Mead comes up. And Mead, who started the game against the righty, Michael Wacha, and as we've seen, has become essentially an everyday player for them, but he really kills left-handed pitching. And so that's the perfect matchup from the Nats standpoint, to have him up against an inferior left-handed reliever. Not saying he's going to hit a homer every time, but you had a pretty good sense that he was going to come through with a good quality at bat in that situation. That's a good matchup for him, and he's really contributing to this team right now to the extent that, like, outside of Wood and Abrams, he might be next on the list of who you want up in that spot.
March 28th, the Nats announced having traded minor league catcher Boston Smith to the Chicago White Sox for Curtis Mead. I'd say that trade looks pretty good right now. I'd say that we can call that trade a win for the Nats president of baseball operations, Paul Taboni. Al Galdi here to tell you about Window Nation's Buy 4, Get 4 free sale that's going on this summer during the heat. But before that, the Window Nation look into the future.
1-1 is hammered deep out to left field as Seal goes over to the wall, and that is gone. Clears just about everything and headed over to the front gates. Caleb Lomavita homers once again this week, and the Senators are now up 3-0.
Window Nation has a great offer for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast, the Buy 4, Get 4 free sale, during which you could replace all of your home's windows and get half of them for free. Plus, you can get your windows with no money down and no payments or interest for 2 years. The sale ends soon, so call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com now to book a consultation. 866-99-WINDOW-NATION or windownation.com to book a consultation, and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast.
Runner goes, swinging a line drive. That's a base hit down the right field line for Nuñez. Millis to third, being waved home. He's going to score. Nuñez trying for third. The relay goes by. The second baseman went. It's backed up. Fortunately, the Royals by their left fielder Tolbert, as Nuñez is in at third with a triple. His second of the year and his 23rd run batted in, and the Nationals lead 1-0.
Nasim Nuñez, he was the Nats starting second baseman and number 9 batter. He had maybe the best game of his career, 2 for 2, with an RBI triple, another triple, and 2 walks, and he had a stolen base, and he did even more than all of that, but just specific to the triple. So Nuñez in the Nats 2-run third, and RBI triple to no man's land in right field for a 1-0 Nats lead. And if there is such a thing as a hustle triple, you hear about a hustle double sometimes. This was a hustle triple. The speed that Nuñez put on display was something. He, per StatCast, went from home to third in just 11.11 seconds. That is the fastest a Nats player has gone from home to third on a regular season triple since Trey Turner went from home to third in 11.08 seconds on a triple on June 30th, 2021. And the kicker is that each triple came off the same guy, starting pitcher Michael Wacha. What are the odds of that? But this was not some triple where, Nuñez lined the ball into a corner or smacked the ball deep into a gap. No, this was into no man's land, and the speed was what generated the triple as much as anything. And then Nuñez did have a more traditional triple. He and the Nats 1-run fifth had a leadoff triple off the outfield wall in right center field, despite having been down in the count at 1.12. And he did more than all of that. He made a standout defensive play. Nats manager Blake Butera, during his post-game press conference, could not say enough good things about the game that Nasim Nuñez had.
I can't pick one spot because he did it all tonight.
Look, we know the deal. He might be the worst hitter on the team, okay, if we're being objective about things. But the guy has talent, and the guy has had some big moments this season. And man, what a show he put on display on Tuesday evening.
Well, he's also come on strong offensively in the last couple of weeks. So, overall, he's still not, where you'd want an everyday big leaguer to be. But he has been getting better. And as we've seen from him, it may not be a whole lot of production, but the production he does provide you is significant and important stuff. I got so much to talk about with him. The first triple, you called it the hustle triple, really impressive. I also want to credit on that play Drew Millis, who's the runner from first base. That's a catcher. There are plenty of catchers in the big leagues who would not have been able to score on that ball. And if you have to hold him up at third, then Nuñez never even has the chance to go for three. So the fact that Mills is a good running catcher allowed Victor Estevez to wave him around third, which then allowed Nuñez to reach third himself. So we start with that. The second triple almost was a home run, his first of the year. If it's possible to be deflated by a triple, that was it, because everybody thought, oh, here it is, Nasim Nuñez's first homer of the season. He'll just settle for his second triple of the game. The defensive play at second base in the second inning.
So we had a soft line drive, a looper chasing Nuñez, dives, he caught it!
It was officially went as a line drive. I'm thinking of it more as a pop-up. Whatever you want to call it, that's one of those that off the bat, you're just not thinking anybody's going to catch this. And then he just goes after it. And he said that it's a play that he's thought he's had a shot at before and never been able to make it. And as this one was playing out, he realized he had a shot at it, and he made the spectacular catch on that.
Honestly, I've pictured making that play in past games at least a lot. I've been telling myself that's one of those plays that I kind of envision myself making, but it never happened until today.
He also teamed up with C.J. Abrams on a key double play in the ninth inning. It was not a routine 4-6-3. It required some skill on both guys' part to pull that off. It kind of helped Gus Varland escape what could have been a dicey situation there in the ninth. And then maybe the most impressive thing that he did, and it doesn't show up anywhere officially, after drawing the walk in the seventh, this is when they're now in a tie game, James Wood hits a grounder up the middle, and Bobby Witt goes to field it, and Witt's going to try to turn the 6-3 double play and just step on the bag and throw to first. Except Nuñez beat him to the bag with a head-first slide. You don't see that very often, a little dangerous as Witt's about to step on the base. He beat him to the bag, and what that did, it's not only not a double play, now he's in scoring position. He ends up stealing third as well. It set the whole stage for that rally that was culminated by the Mead home run. That's the kind of play that Blake Butera was talking about and saying, that's our identity. That's who we want to be. That's just pure hustle. I know he has skill. I know he's got the ability to run faster than almost anybody, but you need commitment on that. On a ground ball that you're thinking, well, double play, I guess I can't do anything about it. No, he busted it, not knowing if he'd make it there in time, and he actually did make it, and that changed the complexion of that entire inning, I think.
He is such a fun guy to watch play. He has such joy when he plays. There's a charisma to him that's infectious. And this really was his night. So good for him for doing what he did. What he did was part of a Nats bottom of the lineup that did quite well in this game. Drew Millis, you mentioned him. He is the Nats starting catcher at number 8 batter, 2 for 4 with a double and a single. Jacob Young, he is the Nats starting center fielder and number 7 batter, 1 for 4 with a single and a stolen base. So this was a game in which, it wasn't necessarily the big boys who came through. James Wood had a decent game. He went 1 for 4, had an RBI single, also had an RBI sac fly. He was the Nats starting right fielder and number 1 batter. He in the 1-run fifth had an RBI single into center field to put the Nats up 3-1. But, C.J. Abrams has cooled off a bit lately, did have a hit in this game, but his numbers have come down a bit. But the Nats have continued to roll offensively. And something that I thought was really interesting, and if you watch the game, you perhaps noticed this. If you have access to the telecast of the game on nationals.tv, I would encourage you to go back and listen to this. Bottom of the eighth, Kevin Franzen is talking about how the Nats this season, when they have 2 strikes on them, are playing with a freedom. And the implication was that the freedom was not there in the past. And that guys, when they have 2 strikes on them, are not afraid to strike out, or not afraid to make mistakes, or still encouraged to swing and swing hard. And if you notice the specifics of a lot of the great offensive exploits we're talking about, so many of these hits are coming with 2 strikes. I mean, in this game, the Nuñez triple in the 1-run fifth came off him having been down at 1.12. We mentioned the Curtis Mead home run. The Curtis Mead homer in this game came on a 1-2 pitch. The Nats, as we are recording this, are number 3 in the majors in team OPS with 2 strikes. And when we talk about like the improved coaching, it's not just about, technical stuff. It also can be about mindset. It can be about what is encouraged and what is discouraged. The Nats have a new hitting coach in Matt Borgschulte. The Nats have 2 assistant hitting coaches as well. And I thought it was really interesting the way that Franzen talked about this, because you can listen between the lines when a guy like Franzen is saying this. I don't think he was just saying the Nats feel a freedom right now to do things a certain way when down 2 strikes or when having 2 strikes. I think he also was implying that freedom did not exist in the past. And the things that are being encouraged right now with 2 strikes were not necessarily being encouraged in the past. And it really stood out that he was talking that way. And again, the results speak for themselves, that the Nats have had so much production in 2 strike counts so far this season.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't obviously watch the broadcast, so I didn't hear that comment. And I can't say that I've heard anyone reference that specifically, but it does make sense. It does kind of jibe with what we've seen here over the last few years. The previous administration did kind of frown upon strikeouts. And especially when you got to 2 strikes, it was about contact and put the ball in play, force the defense to make a play. And I want to say a few years ago, they had like maybe the fewest strikeouts in baseball as a lineup. But, I remember they had all the singles, but they weren't hitting for power. They weren't necessarily scoring runs. And now you see the most productive lineup in baseball. And I couldn't tell you off the top of my head where they rank in strikeouts, but they probably do strike out more than they did in the past. That's a modern way of thinking. The modern hitting coach would say it's better with 2 strikes to try to still hit the ball hard, even if it means every once in a while you are going to strike out, or maybe even more than once in a while you're going to strike out. It's worth it for the chance that you might hit the ball hard and create some real damage. So that does kind of fit in with what we've seen from them so far this year. One of a lot of things that they've done with a different kind of mindset that's a more forward-thinking mindset.
Yeah, Nats, as we are recording this, are 12th out of 30 MLB teams in fewest strikeouts at 601.
2 on, 2 out, 0-2 on Tyler Tolbert, right-handed hitter. The left hitter kicks and fires. Breaking ball, check swing, they'll appeal. He went too far. It's strike 3, and the inning is over. So Tolbert out on strikes. Foster Griffin with his 6th strikeout of the game and probably the final pitch he throws.
The Nats starting pitcher in this 6-4 win over the Royals at Nationals Park on Tuesday evening was Foster Griffin, and he was good again. He was good for a 3rd consecutive outing off having struggled in 3 of 4 outings. He allowed 1 run in 6 innings with 6 strikeouts. He gave up 6 hits, all of which were singles. Issued 2 walks and a hit by pitch, but he threw a lot of strikes, 100 pitches, 74 strikes, just 26 balls. Griffin in the top of the 5th allowed a run on 2 singles and a walk, including a 2-out opposite field RBI single by Bobby Witt Jr. to right field on an 0-2 pitch to cut the Nats lead to 2-1, but Griffin otherwise did well. I mean, a lot to like here. 1 run, 6 innings, 6 strikeouts in 6 innings. The only hits that he gave up were singles. He threw a ton of strikes. The only run that he gives up comes on an opposite field single by one of the best players in the sport in Bobby Witt Jr., and Foster Griffin just continues to plow forward. 15 games, all starts, ERA of 3.32, whip of 1.11. He has become extremely reliable and dependable. Had those few rough outings a few starts back, but otherwise has been like rock solid for the Nats here.
You said dependable. You want to know what's dependable? his last start, which was that Wednesday afternoon game in San Francisco, he goes 6 innings. He gave up 1 run. He threw 100 pitches exactly, and he wound up not getting the win, even though he departed with the lead. On Tuesday night against the Royals, he went 6 innings. He gave up 1 run. He threw exactly 100 pitches. He departed with the lead and did not get the win. So you can't get more reliable, dependable than that. They were carbon copies of each other. Thankfully, the end result of this one was better than that one. It wasn't spectacular. He had to work a little bit. The pitch count was, maybe a little bit high for the 6th innings, and there were some long at-bats thrown in there. But he was really good with his breaking balls. His sweeper and his curveball, I think he had a combined 10 swings and misses on those pitches. And so he was able to dig deep and get those when he needed them. He's Mr. Reliable for them. And I like the team as a whole. When you get to this point, you say, okay, we're almost halfway through the season. I think you want to believe that this is real, what we're seeing from them. I think on an individual level, we're getting to that point with Griffin. I don't think there's that much conversation anymore about, well, once the league figures him out, that this won't work anymore. And, he's clearly not as good as he's shown. No, I think he's kind of showing who he is. And that's a guy who's going to give you a chance to win every single time he takes the mound. He's not a number 1 starter, of course, but he's a really solid pitcher and a workhorse to have on your team. And if I'm the Nationals, this is a guy I want around, not just this year. I want him around in the future. I think he can be an important part of this as they move forward. And good starting pitching is so hard to find. And they found it in the most unlikely place at a very affordable price. If it's me, I'm doing what I can to try to keep him around here. I don't know why you just want to give that up when you know how difficult it is to find somebody who can do what he does.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this, to what extent might he be open to doing an in-season contract extension, especially if he's feeling a comfort here and he likes working with the Nats coaching staff and maybe, doesn't want to be out there lingering in free agency as can happen with starting pitchers. So that's going to be interesting to see. But he has been the best pitcher on the staff, right? I mean, there's no debating that at this point. Like, if you're saying who has been the number 1 pitcher on this pitching staff so far this season, is the answer not Foster Griffin? I don't even know how you'd argue anybody else at this point.
Yeah, it's him. Cade Cavalli's best starts are better, but they're not consistently to that extent. Whereas with Griffin, a couple of outliers, but for the most part, he's given you this similar to this kind of outing almost every time. And so, yes, that's why I said he's not a number 1, but he is a solid middle of the rotation arm who is going to give you a chance. He's going to give you innings. He's been everything they could have asked him to be so far this year. I know there were high hopes for him that they may have found something, but this is above and beyond. And again, it looks sustainable. I don't think we need to talk too much more about, well, when is it inevitably going to fall apart for him? And maybe it will, but you don't really see signs of that. What I'm seeing from him suggests that he can keep doing this.
Well, the negative for the Nats in this 6-4 win over the Royals at Nationals Park on Tuesday evening was, guess what? Yes, the relief pitching. 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 3 runs in 3 innings. Orlando Revolta officially allowed 2 runs in a third of an inning. He would ended up being a 2-run 7th for the Royals, faced 3 batters, but got just 1 out as he issued a 1-out walk and then gave up a 1-out single. Richard Lovelady officially tossed 2/3 of a scoreless inning, but he and that Royals 2-run 7th gave up a 2-out, 2-run single by Isaac Collins to left center field to tie the game at 3 as Lovelady continues to do his Lovelady thing. He's not officially allowing runs, but he is officially putting guys on base. His ERA, 2.53, his whip, 1.88, as the whip is so close to that ERA. It is just amazing to me that we have that with Richard Lovelady. Paxton Schultz, he tossed a scoreless top of the 8th despite giving up a 1-out double, and Gus Varland allowed 1 run in 1 inning. He in the top of the 9th gave up a leadoff full count homer by ex-Nat Lane Thomas to left field to cut the Nats lead to 6-4. Something that does make what the Nats are doing even more impressive is that the bullpen is faltering here. The bullpen in recent weeks has not been good, and showing signs of improvement. We've seen the bullpen come back down. We've seen regression here from the bullpen, and yet the Nats still are winning. It is a credit to the starting pitching. It is, of course, a credit to the offense. You just would like to see the bullpen calm down a little bit here. Way too many games here lately. The bullpen is giving up multiple runs.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not just one guy. This is several of them. Orlando Revolta, who was so good for them for a while. I feel like he hasn't been the same in recent outings. I think Clayton Beeter has been solid for the most part. Varland, I know he gets the ninth a lot, but I don't know that I feel like he's the guy you feel most confident in with the game on the line right now. Now, to his credit, after he gave up the leadoff homer to Lane Thomas and then the walk to Bobby Witt, it's now a tying run at the plate, nobody out in the ninth. And he did get the ground ball that led to the nice 4-6-3 double play. And then he strikes out Isaac Collins to end the game. So he did kind of flip that switch and get it back to not let that thing completely fall apart. And it's funny because that game in San Francisco that we keep referencing, he started that inning, didn't retire any of the first three batters he faced, and that's when Butera made the switch to Mitchell Parker. And in this case, not that there really was anybody else to go to, but he did kind of sink or swim with Varland, and Varland found a way to swim. He found a way to get through it, even though it was not real pretty there at the start of the inning. So maybe he can take something from that. I think this is going to be the summer of hope the lineup takes the lead and then hope the bullpen can just hang on. And if the bullpen can't hang on, hope the lineup comes back and makes up for it after the fact. And to be frank, it's not the first time the Nationals have been in this position. We saw this plenty of times in years where they were very good playoff contending teams and they had to do it in spite of their bullpen. What we don't know yet, and there's still a ways to go, Mike Rizzo was pretty good at fixing a bullpen in season at the trade deadline. Is that where Paul Taboni's mind is going to be going come the end of July, beginning of August? Again, long way to go. But if they continue on this path, that to me is the one obvious area that you would hope he could try to address. And we've got plenty of time to talk about this stuff. But to me, and we've discussed it before, it's probably the easiest thing to fix in baseball. It doesn't cost that much usually to acquire some decent relievers at the trade deadline. It doesn't have to be big name guys. They're just good, solid relievers having good seasons that would help this team. That feels to me like where this is headed. But, it's June 16th going into 17th. There's still a month and a half to go until the trade deadline. Let's see where they're at that point.
Your Nats relief pitching ERA now at 4.71. Your Nats relief pitching whip now at 1.41. But how about this? The Nats on saves are 22 for 41. Lovelady officially got a blown save in this game. The Nats nearly have as many blown saves as the Nats have saves. 22 saves versus 19 blown saves. That is rough, man. And yet this team is 4 games above 500. Pretty impressive. You tell us what you think. You can hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. We have a website you can check out too, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can purchase a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat, courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
The 2-2. Nuñez golfs one in the air to right center field. Well hit. Thomas going back to the warning track. It's over his head and off the wall. Karams past him. Nuñez rounding second, trying for third. The throw-in is cut off. The relay toward third. Not in time. It's a stand-up triple. Nasim Nuñez is 2 for 2 with 2 triples here tonight. He almost hit a home run. He'll settle for his second triple of the night.